Welcome to NASDAQ Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at NASDAQ. Joining us for this segment, we have Dr. Chris Burns, co-founder and CEO of NASDAQ-listed NOVONIX, to discuss environmentally conscious battery technologies and the scalability of electric vehicles. Chris, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Great. Thanks for having me on today, Jill.
You got it. Let's start with an industry overview. What is the current state of the battery supply chain?
The battery industry is going to be one of the most dynamic and impactful industries over the coming year. And right now that's happening because it's all growing outside of China. This is an industry that the supply chain, the manufacturing of batteries themselves has all been completely dominated in Asia and specifically China over the past decade and beyond. And now we're finally seeing this huge wave of investment in localizing cell manufacturing to support the electric vehicle and energy storage market. But those cell manufacturers need suppliers of their key materials. And that's really where we're focusing. How can we build sustainable and innovative technologies within the supply chain to do that locally here in North America as this industry starts to boom toward the middle and back half of this decade?
So Chris, explain to us more where NOVONIX fits in the ecosystem and what's the long-term goal?
Sure. At NOVONIX, we're focused on developing innovative and sustainable technologies and high-performance materials to support the vehicle and energy storage landscape. And for us, this means working, as I said, in that supply chain, in materials and technologies through our two divisions. And where we're fitting really today and where we're going to see so much growth over the coming years is in providing synthetic graphite to cell manufacturers to put in vehicles, into cells for the vehicles and energy storage market. So in Chattanooga, Tennessee, we have our anode materials division. We started it there in 2017. And we've seen huge growth over the past few years, announcing our first manufacturing site, a strategic investment of $150 million from Phillips 66, our first gigawatt-hour scale offtake with Core Power, and then most recently in the fall, being awarded the $150 million grant through the bipartisan infrastructure law, all looking at what will be our next facility because of how much demand there are for these key materials here in North America.
What differentiates the solutions that NOVONIX is providing?
Right now, it's two primary aspects. The first is, as I talked about, geography. We need to have suppliers in our local jurisdiction, and especially in the graphite landscape, there is almost complete dependency on the Chinese market. And of course, in light of the Inflation Reduction Act and the available tax incentives and rebates for vehicles that are eligible based on the content requirements of their batteries, this puts a huge emphasis on moving off of Chinese supplied material. But one of the critical components around battery-grade graphite manufacturing is the cleanliness of the process. Historically, it's been a very energy-intensive and potentially hazardous process to the environment. So when we started the group in 2017, we really focused on how we could develop scalable, cleaner technology here in North America, reduce our energy requirements, reduce our emissions, and have a technology to make these same grades of very high-performance, long-life materials in a sustainable way that we could scale in the Western world.
And speaking of scalability, we need the infrastructure to support electric vehicles. So what's your outlook regarding the scalability of the EV space in general?
I think we're going to see huge growth here for so many reasons, right? So much technology improvement is leading to cost reductions. The emphasis from the government finally stepping in and playing such an impactful role in driving the economics of electric vehicles to the consumers compared to internal combustion. And that's really going to allow us to have a huge number of offerings of vehicles that are going to work for all different people and family types that really just haven't existed here in North America over the past decade. And with that comes challenges, without doubt, the charging infrastructure, the networks, and all of this. But those have been being invested into, and we're going to see continued investment both from the private sector and the companies, as well as the state and federal governments, to ensure that the needs of the consumers are met by these electric vehicles, and that companies like ourselves are able to support bringing localized content into those vehicles.
And finally, NOVONIX has been listed on the Australian exchange since 2015 and also listed on NASDAQ in early 2022. What does that mean for the company? What will allow it to do?
We've been listed for a period of time as we looked at evolving the company. And now our focus, as we set up the anode materials division in 2017, has really been on how we can support the US market and the North American market, because we anticipated this huge stimulus coming and the investment being made into cell manufacturing, the lack of suppliers. And so as our focus continued to grow here, listing last year on the NASDAQ was an opportunity to give investors the ability to participate in our story as our focus becomes more and more on growth here and operations here in North America.
All right, Chris, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at NASDAQ.